Hi, everyone. This is Paul Adeyeye, and this is the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. And if this is your first time of tuning into this podcast, I want to say welcome. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new episodes, insightful conversations like this drop. I'm excited today to introduce my guest to you. His name is Kelly Boyi. Kelly is Kelly moved to Canada over a decade ago, came in as an international student. He's a remarkable young man. Sometimes it can be controversial online, but if you really get close to Kelly, he's a cool guy. Now, Kelly has over 10 years of immigration, let me say 10 years of experience in Canada. And I love the fact that his journey is a bit different from most of my guests that I've hosted. So he's been here for quite a while. He has over, let's say, 10 years experience in his career. He has done so well in his career and at some point decided to explore the entrepreneurship route by founding SkillDev.ca. That's a company that helps to build and grow relevant technical skills, let me say relevant career skills in this fast-paced age. And I'm really inspired by what Kelly has done. I love what he's doing, how he's empowering immigrants in his own community. So join me in welcoming Kelly Boyi to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. Welcome, Kelly. I'm so glad to have you.
Awesome. No, I'm glad to be here. Super excited. I've been watching your pod for a while now, and you're doing amazing stuff. When I see my own people doing stuff and just trying different things and making strides, I'm like, yes, that's what we should be doing, right? We shouldn't just be coming to Canada to survive. We need to thrive. So absolutely. Super excited to be on here.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for the kind words. So, can you walk us through your immigration journey?
Immigration journey, interesting. So, like you said, I think before we started recording, I'm one of the OGs because I've
Oh,
been in
geez.
Canada over a decade, almost 12 years now, actually. A couple of months now will make it 12 years. But I moved here when I was about 18, 19. This was early or mid 2023. No, sorry, 2013, actually. Oh, wow, time flies. And I came here as an international student. The way that happened was quite unique for me. Um, Always back in high school, I've always seen myself leaving Nigeria because I had this bigger dream. I just want to do things. I want to try stuff. I want to experience things. And I knew Nigeria would sort of limit me. And I had these two pictures where I was like, okay, I can stay in Nigeria and finish my mechanical engineering degree and eventually go into oil and gas like my dad did back in the days, right? That was the picture because I've always known I'm going to be an engineer from like primary five.
Hmm.
But I think while I was getting to high school, I had some friends that were also talking, oh, Kelly, are you applying to go like overseas? Everyone was talking about UK then, Queen Mary University in England. I wanted to go there myself. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna join you guys. And I requested for some brochures and stuff. And what happened was I got the brochure sent to me, but that day my dad picked up the mail and he came to me, he's like, oh, what's this? I'm like, oh, it's Queen Mary's University in England. I want to go there. And he said, let me tell you something, kid, money is not a problem, right? At that time, this was then when 1 naira to a dollar was
Hmm.
like maybe 100. So money was not a problem then, right? And so my dad worked in oil and gas. He said, however, a lot of my friends have sent their kids overseas to the UK, to England, especially when they're young, and some of them went AWOL.
Hmm.
And that scares him and my mom. So he's like, money's not a problem. You would go overseas, but it will be for your masters. All right. For now, stay here, do what you need to do, and finish. I'm like, okay, all right, this is my fate. So I stuck to it. I went through JAM and everything. Eventually got admission into Delta State University, Delsu. I was actually studying mechanical engineering. I was going into my second year and something happened that period. So we had some stuff that happened back home because I was born and raised in Delta. So my parents moved the family from Delta to Lagos.
Okay.
So as we moved to Lagos, something really happened. Um, I think that period of moving to Lagos, actually, there was a big ASU strike that lasted for 5 or 6 months. So that period, my dad has always known me as this person that has like energy, But that period I was so depressed. There was nothing to do. We just moved to Lagos. I didn't know anybody, no one. So I was just at home on my phone. Like, and he saw me, he's like, yeah, this guy is gonna get into depression. So he said,
Mm.
okay, you know what? If ASU is gonna play these games, let's even try. Would you go to like Afe Babalola University, like private? I said, nope. Would you go to Ghana? I said, Ghana is like me going to school in Nigeria. He's like, okay, let's try Canada. And then we decided to try Canada. But I think when we applied, it took a while for my uh for the application to process. But eventually, when they processed the applications, my program actually started because I went to Conestoga College. I did my undergrad at Conestoga College. So when my program started, it typically starts before any other program. So it starts in August. Everyone starts in September. So my
Right.
program already started. So when we got the notification that, hey, by the way, your passport has arrived, come pick it up, or your visa has arrived. So here's what happened. My dad came back from Escravos that morning. As he was coming from Escravos, he stopped to go get my passport. In the meantime, me and my sister went to the market, bought some clothes and stuff. By the time I go home that evening at like 5, 6 p.m., a flight was already booked for that night. I got on a plane and I was out. That was how it happened for me.
Wow.
And while I was at the airport at Murtala Mohammed Airport, I was calling my buddies like, guys, I
Hey,
don't go.
I
It's
did
happening,
go.
guys. They're like, really, Kelly, you're joking. And I sent them a picture like, no, I'm actually going, and that's it. So I left, I flew through England and came to landing in Toronto. And since then, didn't look back. Enjoyed my time here in Canada as an international student. So I did my undergrad, um, became a licensed engineer, and I eventually went back to Nigeria. I think after like 7 or 8 years, actually. I think I went back in 2021. That was the first time. But yeah, that's my journey so far. But like I said, I finished school, I got into the job market, I was working as an engineer, eventually transitioned to a project manager, and that's what I do today. I'm a senior project manager.
Great. Love your story. So I'm sure you had some unique challenges coming at that
Hmm.
age, and I'm sure you had some. Maybe now looking back, you will feel like you enjoy some competitive advantage for coming into Canada at that age.
Hmm.
But generally, what would you say? Do you think it was a good move? And this is me asking you because I don't want you to, I don't know if you've forgotten all those challenges you went through because now you are doing pretty well. So
Hmm.
I want to just look back and maybe your early years where you feel like, oh, I should have stayed back or I should have.
Yes, there were some challenges. I think whenever you're trying to do something big, you're always going to get some setback, and you
Mm,
may even fail. But one thing I always tell myself, failure is part of the journey, right? You get some setback, but it's part of the journey. Did I get to a point where I thought, should I just stay back? Not really. Like I said at the start, growing up as a kid, I knew I needed to get out of here. The government was not working for me. The place, like, if you're trying to build something in Nigeria, you have to first build the infrastructure before you start building your stuff. So by the time you're
mm,
done building infrastructure, you're so tired, exhausted. So I knew I needed to get out one way or the other. So I don't think I was like, hey, I needed to go back. But yes, I had some challenges where I landed. I was young, I was naive, I was trying to make friends. And there was a couple of Nigerians I knew then, but I was like, one of the only black kid in my class at that time, right?
mm.
I typically sit at the front of the class. I remember the first day I came to class again. Classes have already started. They've already started forming cliques and groups, and I just showed up, right? And I can
Showed
remember
up,
vividly
black
my
guy.
as a black kid, right? Who's got like a very thick accent and just showing up. And then my professor, I remember his name, Martin. Hey, he's a British man. He came to the class like, hey, by the way, we have a new student, Kelly. Meet everyone. This was like I sat there, it's like, oh, by the way, form groups and stuff. Everyone was already forming groups. I was just sitting there by myself. I'm like, Nigeria. Why, like, see what you've done. Like, why did you guys take so long to process my visa? Now I have to go form. So I had my challenges where I started like, oh, who's this black kid? It took me a while to form, like, to get into like the friendship groups. However, something that allowed me to do that was when my professor started seeing my scores in how I was performing in calculus and stuff. Then my math professor came and was like,
Who is this
wow,
guy?
calculus, you're so good. Like, how are you so good? I'm like, it's math, all right? Relax. So it's because of that. the other kids were like, oh, maybe this guy knows something. That's when
Mm.
he started to open the doors for me a little bit. Like, oh, do you want to come to the pub with us? Do you want to go play pool with us? Or do you want to come to the party? And for me, the moment I said, do you want to go here? Let's go. Right? Because I knew that was the only way for me to sort of get in. So I had that challenge for sure. Trying to make friends was a challenge. I know when a lot of people come from Nigeria, sometimes they sort of stay within their own community,
Yeah.
Black Nigerians, and they find it hard to go out. So for me, it was all like, okay, I don't want to be that guy. Let me try to follow the non-Nigerians, the Indians, the Asians, the Caucasians. Let me follow these people
You were
because that's
diverse.
how I would exactly. That's how I would learn. So those are some challenges. I remember there was a time I also failed a class, and I remember crying. I called my dad, and he told me this thing where it's like, it's okay. I was very shocked because I thought my dad was going to rip me apart. Like, how would I send you there and you failed? He's like, no, it's fine. Like, you did well for the other classes, but you failed this one. That's okay. And you've been doing well
Mm.
as a kid, right? So it's okay. Failure is inevitable, but know that it's part of the journey. And I remember that day. That day broke me, but also got me to say, you know what? I would fail in this journey, but don't let that beat you, right? Keep going. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Right. Thank you for sharing all that. You mentioned a lot of things that I found or I find fascinating. The way you put it in a very casual way, but I think it's very significant in the sense that you said the point where they opened their doors was when they realized that you had some extra value to offer.
Hmm.
So, and that's very powerful because I tell people that, you know, as an immigrant, there are some doors that will not naturally open to you. But if you can invest in yourself, n- offer value,
Hmm.
you will always get value back.
Absolutely.
And I always share this story. There's this lady who founded Chick-fil-A in Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love to go there once in a while. I drive like maybe 30 minutes to the place. But
Oh.
what I really find fascinating most is the fact that sometimes I spend 20, 30, 40 minutes on the drive-through,
Mm.
and not just me. And the people who go there, they are all diverse. You see white, brown, yellow, everybody goes there. Everybody spends
Yeah.
40 minutes. I'm not sure if anyone has even tried to find out who owns this Chick-fil-A. But I know that this Chick-fil-A is owned by a Nigerian.
Nigerian lady. Yeah.
And it gives me joy knowing that people spend so much time just to get maybe $10 or $15 burger, but they just want to have that experience. So
Yeah.
when you give value, you you stand a chance to enjoy some. I know it's tough coming to this country sometimes,
Hmm.
but you just have to know that you need to offer value. So thank you for mentioning that. The other thing
Absolutely.
you mentioned is the relationship you have with your dad. And that's a big deal because I'm a dad too, and I have two boys. Like having the confidence to call your dad, say, "Oh, dad, I failed," knowing fully well that he should scold you,
Hmm.
but it tells me that you guys have a very good relationship. For you to have called him and the way he handled it, which good, good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So moving on, I know you've done so well in the last 10 years in Canada as a career person, and I was gonna ask you, do you think, and you're an OG, like you mentioned, like introduce yourself. Do you think that the new generation of immigrants have more opportunities and privileges than the OGs? Or do you think they
Mm.
have more challenges than the OGs?
That's a great question. I think, and this might sound controversial, I believe they have more opportunities, and it doesn't come without challenges, though, and I'll touch on that. So take me for example. When I came to Canada, I think we were talking about this earlier. The government in power then was conservatives. When I came then as a student, you could not really work. First and foremost, you couldn't work.
Hmm.
And I remember I had co-op. I had to go get a work permit to do co-op.
Oh,
So
for
only
real?
those, yes, yeah. So I think it was in 2020, 2015, 2016 when Trudeau came in that they changed it where with your study permit, it comes with a work permit and you can work what? Is it 20, 25 hours thereabout? So during my time, we couldn't work except it was in the summer when you're outside school, right? But if school is going on, you could not work. And even if you found work again, it's either it was co-op or you found work on campus. I think those were the requirements then. Okay.
Hmm.
So now people come and they have chance to work and they still complain. Um, and then the next thing I would say is when we came then, the way the internet, social media has exploded with content, with information. It wasn't like that then.
I
You had to
agree.
figure things out, right, yourself. Then I didn't know how to apply to study permit or whatnot. We had to use an agent. That was the only agent we've used in our whole family. We used an agent. The moment we used him, it worked very well. We learned how to do everything ourselves. When I sponsored my friends to Canada, I did everything myself. There's no agent. Read everything online. My brothers, because now my pretty much my whole family is in Canada right now with me,
Okay.
my siblings, my mom and dad. We did everything ourselves because again, the internet exploded and we were able to find these things, information, right? So when we came there, this information wasn't really there. People
Hmm.
like you didn't really exist that talk about these things openly. People didn't really exist. Then when we came, it was just like some old timers that are like, oh, you've landed, find,
Find
some
your
factory
will.
work or so that was then. But guess how we've moved from there, and a lot of us have succeeded. And now, when you fast forward to let's say the last 3 to 5 years, things have changed where you can work as a student,
Hmm.
you land, you have a community, a massive community. When I came to Canada, the Nigerian community was smaller. Now it's huge,
Huge.
right? So now you've got a massive community that is willing to share information, and you still complain. But let me also say this. We're in a different time. I would say over the
Hmm.
last 12 to 24 months, things have changed in Canada. I'm not gonna lie. Our population has gone up significantly, and now it's putting so much pressure on the infrastructure, on housing, on jobs. So it's made it a bit harder, right?
Hmm.
For the new folks. So that's where the challenge is for them. But
Yeah.
outside, when it comes to like finding information, finding community, right? Finding yourself, finding where you belong in society, that's already solved for you. You just need to come now and say, okay, how do I get a job now? Right? But then we had to figure everything from number one to number 10 on that list.
Hmm. And you're spot on. I agree with everything you've said, 100%. Because I know that, and shout out to people like Tunde Taj who started creating content. When I was
Yeah.
coming to Canada about 6 years ago, I was I've had the notification on for a long time,
Yeah.
and I just imagine how life was before this internet and all that. So you made a
Yeah.
very valid point. Thank you for sharing that. Talking about the challenges for new folks, and I agree with you that the last 24 months have been very challenging. Even
Yeah.
old folks have lost jobs.
Yeah.
Even OGs are finding it difficult.
Absolutely. I know.
Yeah, and for new folks who come here, the the ability to even have to build friendships and relationships online,
Mm.
I think that's something that's amazing that we probably are not talking about.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of friends online that I've not even met.
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole lot. And I have a comment on that. For a very long time, I was like that. But I would say maybe like 2, 3 years ago, I made it a mission that you know what, every summer when the weather is perfect, I would actually go to these events and meet these people face to face. And I found
Hmm.
out those people I actually got to meet face to face, the relationship got stronger and more value has been exchanged so far.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's true. So, about the challenge, what do you think the new folks can do differently? Because there's nothing they can do about that challenge. How do you think they can
Mm,
navigate this current space in Canada?
mm. That's a great question. So there's a couple of ways you can see it. So there's a book I recently finished. It's called "The Obstacle is the Way," and I think what it's saying is whenever you're faced with an obstacle, there are three things you can do. One of them, the first thing you need to do is perception, the way you see things, the way you hear and perceive the situation. The next one is your action. What do you do with the information you have? And the last one is your will. And your willpower is like, I'll give you an example. Picture someone who is disabled and on a wheelchair, right? But wants to stand up and go to the kitchen and grab water. Obviously, they can't really stand up, right? But picture him in their mind, they see themselves standing up and walking to go get the water. That's what your will is.
Hmm.
So those three things, you need to be very careful with them. So when you land, first and foremost, you get all the negatives. Hey, it's so hard in Canada, housing, childcare, getting job is hard, minimum wage, right? I would say first and foremost, change your mindset.
Hmm.
Be very careful who you associate with. As much as I'm a big believer of community, I'm a community builder and facilitator myself. Be also careful with the people you allow into that your space, first and foremost, right? Uh, so be careful of the information you take in because if you're just taking all the negative information, I guarantee you the moment you land, you see Canada as a negative land,
Place. Hmm.
right? Then the next thing I would say is what action do you take with the information you have? I know sometimes we hear the statement, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. I don't agree. I think applied knowledge is power.
Hmm.
You can have all the information in the word, but if you choose not to use it, it's useless to you,
Right.
right? So I would say take action. So now that you know Canada is tough. However, it's not like there are no jobs, or there are jobs. But now you need to be very strategic and work twice as hard to land these same roles. I can tell you maybe 5 years ago, if I'm looking for a new job, then I'll put out maybe 20 job applications per week. I may get 3 calls. Now you have to put in like 100 to get 2 calls
Hmm.
because just the concentration in the job market, right? So,
Right.
but now as a newcomer, you have this information that hey, I should not be putting in 20, I should be putting in 100,
Good.
200, 300. I've sat down, I've put in 400 job application in 1 week. People think it's a joke. I'm like, no, you can actually do it. It's possible. All you need to do is one job application for 10 minutes. Do that for 4 hours. Then multiply it by the whole week. For you see, by the end of the week, you're already at like 250, 300. So it's
Hmm.
possible, right? So have the information and ask yourself, okay, what do I do? The fact is, the old way of applying for a job, which is like using resume, those days are far gone. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying they shouldn't do that. I'm saying do that, but 10x that number of applications you put, first and foremost, right? Make sure you're leveraging technology,
Hmm.
okay? Make sure you're also networking with the right people. When I say networking with the right people, it's not about the quantity of people you know now, it's the quality. So I'll give you a good example. Paul, let's say you know 10 managerial level, director level, VP level people, 10 of them. But then I know 100 entry level engineers. Who has more value
Influence.
in their network?
I do.
It's you. Yeah, because you have the decision makers that will look down and pull you up, right?
Right.
But so it's not the amount of people you know, it's the right people. So
Yes.
these are the things we tend to teach people at SkillDev. We're like, hey, right? And before we actually started SkillDev, this is something I've always been teaching people and telling people, hey, apply for jobs, but make sure you are thinking outside the box because the traditional way of finding a job has long gone. And
Hmm.
you get to a point, at least for me, where I don't typically apply for jobs anymore. I think I've built a brand for myself where I get the recruiters coming to me instead. And the good thing about that is this: when you get recruiters approaching you, you get to demand your value.
Absolutely.
So those are the things I would say people need to do. And one last thing is, it's good to start online. We talk about having online friends. Absolutely. Online connect, online network. But make sure you're going out there,
Hmm.
you're getting FaceTime, you're shaking hands. Because one thing is this: once you get that in-person interaction, oh, it takes the relationship to the next level, one. But also, you just never know who you would meet out there. And for me, I've taken flights to Alberta, right? I'm based in I'm based in Ontario, but I've taken flights to Montreal, right? I've taken flights to Calgary, Edmonton, to Vancouver, just because I want to get
Network.
FaceTime with people, right?
Hmm.
So to Manitoba, I've done that. So those are the things I would tell people to do, right? Yeah, and if you start doing all of this, the fact is, it's not magic that you start seeing traction tomorrow. But if you do it consistently, right, and be persistent, uh, over time, you start seeing better traction, especially with the job market. Yeah.
Wow. That's so powerful. Strategic networking. And I completely agree with you because for me, all the roles I've gotten in Canada, only one came out of random application. Or let me say the last one came out of recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn. And it's
Hmm.
people you know that will help you most of the time. Not that they will get you the job, but even conversations,
Yeah.
just having conversations with people, even them sharing their experience. Now, let me just say a story. So I had a mentor. I had a mentor when I was trying to transition into my tech role, and
Hmm.
I knew what I needed to do. I had done all the courses I needed to do. Then I was in that position where I was hungry for the next thing, but it wasn't
Yeah.
coming. And I was helping people with their resumes, telling them what to do. They were getting jobs. Like, what's going on? So my mentor reached out to me and she said, don't worry, everything will be fine. She now
Yeah.
sent me a screenshot of someone who applied to a company, but they called her, I think, after 6 months. By the time they called her, she had gotten a job. So she shared that with her that,
Yeah.
look at these people. Now I've gotten a job. They're now inviting me. I'm not interested. So she sent me that screenshot just to make me feel good. Like, don't worry, things will work out for you, just the way it worked out for this lady. But
Yeah.
when I saw that screenshot, I saw the email of the recruiter. I picked the email. I shot my shot. How did they say it? Yes. I sent out an email
Yeah.
to the
You shoot your
recruiter
shot. Yeah.
and I said, I saw this role and I'm open for discussion. Guess what? That was the first job I got.
Boom.
Boom. That was the first job I got. But I met that lady. The lady didn't even, she couldn't do anything. She just sent me the screenshot just to say, oh, Paul, don't worry. Things will go well. Right now, just keep applying. I saw the email. I said, okay, let me
Yeah.
just try. And I did. And that was the beginning of my role in the tech industry. So thank you for mentioning strategic networking. That's
Wow.
very important. What else do I want to ask you? So
Yeah. Absolutely.
you've been in this country for a while. I'm sure you've met the thriving ones and you've met the struggling ones. Apart from all the things that you've mentioned,
Yeah.
do you think there are some traits that the successful ones have that you want to speak on?
Yes, absolutely. I think I can easily tell the the lions from the sheeps. I can tell you. And I talk to my partner about this every time. I'm like, a lot of us are sheeps, but a few of us are lions. And when I say lions, we are there is subset of people in our community where they came, they saw, they conquered. And it didn't happen overnight. They told themselves, okay, hey, I'm an immigrant here. Technically, everyone in Canada is an immigrant, right? Cool. Start with that first mindset. And I tell
Hmm.
people till today in Canada, I tell everyone, you are an immigrant, just the way I am. So forget it, right?
It's
First and
the time
foremost,
that we
I
landed that
have
is
enough
different.
value. In fact, I would have more value. Exactly. It's the time we landed. Maybe maybe your parents landed you, and that's why you think you're Canadian. We're all immigrants, right? So there's a common trait. One of them is I think this subset of people that tend to thrive, they dare to dream a little bit a little bigger for themselves. They tend to
Hmm.
see themselves just above or I'm just going to come to Canada, find some minimum job or find some decent job and just put my head down and that's it. No, I don't want to do more. So once you see that, you can easily see that unique characteristic from this subset of people.
Hunger.
Sometimes you see exactly hunger. Sometimes you see them that okay, if this opportunity is not going to come to me, I'm going to create the opportunity for myself,
Hmm.
right? A good example would be um something happened recently where his name is Lucky. Lucky, he's a photographer in Toronto. Maybe you know him. And Lucky is very good at what he does. He's a photographer. He works for BMO, right? I think he's like the BMO lead photographer these days, but he works as a software engineer for BMO. And Lucky is everywhere.
Hmm.
But I don't think Lucky has been invited to come lead like a big photography event as a speaker. You know what Lucky did recently? Created his own event. 150 people showed up. I think maybe it's even paid actually. 100 people, 150 people showed up and it blew up. So these
Wow.
people, they get this mindset. If they don't invite you to the party, create your own party, they will come, right?
Hmm.
So it's a mindset. So I think this group of people have a mindset. They have tenacity. They have grit. They have perseverance. They know how to adapt and pivot as needed. Okay. And then those are these successful traits, right? And then when it comes to the
The
group
sheep.
of, oh, we're just surviving, right? It's before they landed, they were already consuming negative information, negatives, right? Oh, Canada
Hmm.
is hard, though, it's hard, though, it's hard. And then they landed. And when they landed, all they did was, okay, How do I get into an like echo chamber where there's a lot more negative people? So
People.
I keep hearing the same information. Canada is hard, is hard. Okay, what do I need to do? Oh, they say I have to go get I not to throw shade at people with like working at McDonald's, like minimum income job. No, not to throw shade or PSW, not to throw shade. But I've been in communities where people say, oh, it's just to come, go and get the bouquet work, factory work, or go do PSW, or go. I'm like, guys, we gotta think a little bit bigger. We have the experience from back home, right? Especially for those of us that came in when we're like 25 or 30. You already have experience,
Right.
hopefully. Use it, right? But I think these people just stay in this like, oh, let me just stay in my community, let me just stay inside my house. And I think that's a problem. I think it's good. Community is good, but make sure you explore. Make sure you
Hmm.
make friends outside your community. Make sure you try things, right? Break things. There's a lot of stuff I've done. I've learned how, when I came to Canada, I learned how to drive in Canada. I learned how to play tennis in Canada. I learned how to play golf in Canada. Um, a whole bunch of stuff I learned in Canada, not from the traditional Nigerian community, but from all the folks that are outside. And I would say
Hmm.
this, a lot, about 60-70% of the opportunities I have received in Canada came from outside
Non.
the Nigerian community, right? So what does
Yeah.
that tell you? It tells you that when you come, stay with your community because community is important because you get social and emotional support from them. I agree.
Right.
But make sure
You
you
diversify.
relate, yeah, because these people have been here longer than you, right?
Hmm.
They know the land more than you. So
Hmm.
you need to start making friends and networking with them. It's very important. So I see those people that are struggling, they fall under that. I'm not going to really network the right way. I'm not going to
Hmm.
go explore opportunities. I am not going to make friends with these white people. Everyone is racist. The professor is racist. My manager is racist. Don't get me wrong, they're racist people. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
But unfortunately, we cannot keep playing the victim.
Hmm.
People have been racist to me. Let me tell you, my first job in Canada, and maybe this is something I didn't mention. My first job in Canada, I could not secure a co-op. So but I was able to secure like a summer job. And let me tell you what that job was. I was going door to door, knocking on people's door, selling energy contracts.
Hmm.
This was me in Canada for less than 12 months
Oh
with my
wow.
thick accent knocking on white people's door. And
At 19.
and note this, I wasn't exactly note that I wasn't knocking at like Kitchener or in Toronto. They're taking us to like far place like Chatham, right? Places where the
Remote
core
places.
racists are. People send dogs after me. People call the exactly. People call the cops on me. You know, after this cop showed up like, "Hey, Mister, what are you doing?" Then I'll show them my ID. Okay, all right, you're not breaking the law. Keep going, right? But think about it. Two people can see it, like I should have seen it in two different ways. One is like, you know what? This is just the journey, right?
Hmm.
Or I can see it and say, hey, everyone
This
is
is not
racist.
for
Let me just go
me.
home and quit this job.
Right.
Exactly. So those are the traits between the successful and the struggling folks in our community.
Perspective. Very important. Thank you so much. If you are enjoying this conversation and you've not subscribed to this podcast, please hit the subscribe button. I'm sure you are loving what Kelly has been putting out there. Thank you so much, Kelly. This has been a very insightful one. Now, how important is LinkedIn in 2025 for those trying to maybe transition, get a
Mhm,
job, or even for business owners? Because I
mhm.
know that's your safe place.
My bread and butter. Yeah, yeah. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very important in 2025, right? It's very important whether you are a professional, whether you are a student or a business owner. It's a must. In 2025, if you're not working, if you don't have LinkedIn in 2025, you're not online. I'm going to say something very controversial. If you or your business or your service is not online in 2025, technically you do not exist.
Hmm.
Let me just say it. You do not exist. Okay? Because the world has gone digital and you have to play the digital game as well. Visibility is a currency, right? Visibility is a currency. And if you want to make strides, you want to get to places faster. I- I'm not saying go viral every day or be the loudest. No, I'm saying visibility. It's very strategic, right? So in 2025 as a professional, thinking outside the box is yes, I'll keep applying using my resume, but I also need to be visible so people can see what I'm about, the values I bring, right? And my aspiration. I'll give you an example. When I landed in Canada, I was lucky enough that I was introduced to LinkedIn because I didn't know what LinkedIn was in the first place. But when
Hmm.
I landed, I took a class that was called, I can't remember the name, but it was some HR career class. And within like the first 6 weeks, they're like, oh, you have to create your LinkedIn profile. It's part of your evaluation for the end of the semester. So I created LinkedIn, I had a LinkedIn profile, and that same LinkedIn profile is what I've had. So right now, I've actually been on LinkedIn for like again over a decade as well. So I've learned a lot from LinkedIn where I don't know everything about LinkedIn, but I know enough because I've been on there for a long time. I've experimented and I've stayed consistent over time, right? And
Right.
whether it's job I'm looking for or business opportunity or I'm promoting one of my endeavors outside my regular 9 to 5, LinkedIn has been a place for me. And I do a lot of storytelling, a lot of write-up. LinkedIn is almost like a blog for me. I go there, I drop my ideas. All
Yeah.
right. So, and because of that, you get eyeballs, you get people looking at you. I've had
Wow.
interviews where people call me like, hey, Kelly, you are the guy we want for this job, coming for an interview. And I walk in there and I see, okay, tell me what you got to offer. And then if it's to my liking, all right, let's sign. If it's not to my liking, I negotiate. If you don't get to where I need to get to, I leave. And that's okay. I will still keep in contact, right? But I've been in situations where it's you we want. And
Hmm.
also, just my own journey on LinkedIn as well, has also made me very proud because I've seen a lot of people that I've coached and talked to about LinkedIn, and I've seen the way they've taken it seriously and they just, gone up.
The way their life has
Just
evolved.
changed.
Right.
Yes. So in 2025, whatever you're doing, and I tell people this, and a lot of people from Nigeria were very scared. They're like, oh, but what if my boss sees it? What if my colleague sees it? Here's the trick that worked for me. When I was an engineer, right? 2 years before I transitioned into project management, I was already telling people on LinkedIn that, hey, I want to become a project
It's
manager. two
manager.
years before.
Hmm.
So I was already telling this narrative that, guess what, guys, I'm going to become a project manager. I'm not just telling them. I was also showing them, by the way, here's what I am doing to get there. I'm taking
Hmm.
this class. I went for this conference. I took this certification, right? I finished this project. So I was telling this story. While I was doing that publicly online, guess what I was doing within my 9 to 5? I was telling my bosses, my colleagues,
This is my
you
plan.
know, exactly. And for example, on a Monday morning, you go to work. Typically, the common thing Canadians talk about, we talk about the weather.
Whether?
So what did you do last weekend? Right? So
Yeah.
people will say things like, "Oh, I took my little girls to the shopping mall, to this. I'm not married, no kids." So you hear something like, "Oh, I went to this conference, or I went to this event. Oh, I was studying for this exam. I finished this certification." So I was already telling this narrative inside. So
Hmm.
when the time was ready for me to transition from outside and inside,
You
my
were
boss
ready.
just told me like, "Hey, Kelly, I can't really stop you. Apply for the role. If they interview you and give you the role, sure." And that's what I did.
Wow.
So LinkedIn is about visibility and owning your narrative because the truth is this: in 2025, everyone is a brand. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
you become big as like Coca-Cola or Walmart, but you're a brand. And brand is about consistency and messaging. And if
Wow.
you don't own your narrative, the fact is this: someone else is going to build that narrative for you. And most times it's a negative narrative. So,
Hmm.
bottom line is this: if you don't take your brand seriously in 2025, no one will.
Wow. I think we should just end it here. What? Wow. I've been enjoying this conversation. Thank you so much, Kelly. You've dropped a lot of nuggets. And the way the future is going, I'm really afraid for people who are not leveraging internet and social media. I'm not
Yeah.
saying everybody should be a content creator, but like you mentioned, your personal brand is what we get to your next dollar,
Yeah. Your next opportunity. Yeah.
your next opportunity. Because it's gonna get to a time where opportunities will only be available to those that are online.
Hmm.
Whether you're a business owner or you are a 9 to 5 professional, because even the regular 9 to 5 jobs, they are going away. And I was going to ask you if you think AI is a threat to project management?
That's a very good question. And I'm glad you asked that question because, like I said, I do a lot of writing on LinkedIn. And sometimes people ask me, oh, Kelly, how do you stay very consistent with LinkedIn? The trick is this, I bulk create for LinkedIn. So a lot of the stuff you see on LinkedIn, we
You
already created
created.
2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Right? So I would say between now and the end of this month, I already have all my stuff created for LinkedIn. So I'm not even worried. So once new things arise, I think about them. Okay, what am I going to write about this? So I was just writing about LinkedIn AI actually. I wrote 2 pieces about AI last night, and I do a lot of writing at night, which is weird because there's a friend of mine that called me from Vancouver one day at like 12. He's like, Kelly, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just writing. He's like, you know what's funny? He said, people will see your success tomorrow and think it's overnight. When they
Hmm.
are snoring right now, you're here writing for LinkedIn that nobody will like. I'm like, yeah, it's LinkedIn is a blog for me. So whether you like it or you don't like it, I'm still gonna write. But talking about AI, right? Sorry to digress there a little bit. Um, AI is a game changer. I don't know if you've seen what has happened over the last week or so with ChatGPT, oh, so OpenAI releasing
Yeah.
this updated
Image.
image generator.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. A lot of the
Wow.
stuff people are creating, I'm just like, hey, the truth is this. AI is scary, I'm not gonna lie. If it falls in the wrong hand or used the wrong way, can cause a lot of problem. However, AI is here as a tool. Just the way we had the cell phone, we had the computer, we had the internet, we had the car. It's a tool to improve our workflows so we can become more productive.
Hmm.
Okay? Before OpenAI ChatGPT went viral in 2022, I already started incorporating AI in my personal and professional workflow in I think late 2022.
Hmm.
This was before because again, I'm a technocrat at heart. I love technology. I like to try it. I like to be one of the first adopters. I like to break stuff as I go. So I'm always going to try stuff. So as a project manager, I can tell you this right now. AI took my job. Not the way people think, but it took my job to the next level. It
Hmm.
improved my workflow. It made me more productive. Something that would have taken me maybe 2 hours to research takes me 10 minutes. When it comes to like creating documents that would take me maybe a week to develop, right? It takes me maybe a day, right? When it comes to sitting down and crafting this very executive email to upper leadership, that would take me almost an hour thinking, oh, hopefully there's no mistake. Right? AI just does it for me in seconds, right? So when it comes to creating graphics, boom, you give it stuff, boom. So I can tell you this, AI is not going to take your job. The fact is, AI is going to take a lot of jobs,
Yeah.
but just like any technology that will take a lot of job, it creates more of a
More.
different kind of job. So the
Absolutely.
trick is you need to upskill so you can transition, right? So AI is not going to take your job. However, someone who knows how to leverage AI is coming for your job.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. That's a nice way to put it. So AI can either take your job or take your job to the next level.
Next level. Yeah.
It's not left for you. It's left for you to decide how you want to handle that or navigate that space. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Kelly. You founded SkillDev. Can you tell us about what inspired you to set up that company and what do you guys really offer?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So SkillDev, I'm part of the leadership SkillDev, one of the co-founders. And the way it started from another company I was actually running, another project I was running on the side called Consult with Kelly. And you can check us out at consultkelly.com, consult with a K. So on Consult with Kelly, I do a lot of coaching and mentorship. Again, I've been fortunate to be in the industry for a while, and a lot of people want to transition or tap into the industries I've worked in. Because I've worked
Hmm.
in robotics and automation, I've worked in legacy automotive manufacturing, nuclear space, I've worked in EV battery space, I've worked in clean tech, right, IT. So I've worked in some spaces where people are like, oh, how do I get in? I've worked as an engineer and I'm working now as a technical project manager. So people kept approaching me maybe like 5, 6 years ago, like, hey Kelly, can you coach me? Can you mentor me? I want to do this. I see you're here, you're working for this company, for that company. Some of these people are actually like older than me, have more years of experience than me, but maybe they're new or they just want to
Hmm.
transition. And I do a lot of that coaching through Consult with Kelly. But I also noticed that there was a trend that started happening about 2, 3 years ago where people were like, okay, Kelly, now that I've you've coached me through this process, I'm ready. I'm ready to do it now. I want to take a class. I want to take a certification.
Mm.
Do you offer any like class, like detailed class that runs for like 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks? And I'm like, no, but I
No.
can recommend some of these to you. So typically I recommend things like, oh, go look at, XYZ, right? I took one a couple of years ago. They're good. But I kept on getting that more and more. I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe there's something here. So why don't we start ours?
Okay.
And the truth is, the market is saturated, but there's enough market for everyone, right? As long as
Mm.
you offer value and your price point makes sense to your audience. So we said, okay, let's create something. And we went through this. We went through an accelerator program.
Okay.
We actually came in number three in the accelerator program. So that's how we launched SkillDev.ca. And right now we're offering different programs led by like industry professionals that are working as project managers and business analysts in the field right now. And what our mission pretty much is we want to equip Black and immigrant professionals with the skills and relevant hands-on experience needed for them to start and scale their careers in high-paying tech roles. That's what we're trying to do, right? So right
Beautiful.
now we're offering both project management and business analysis classes. They run for 12 weeks. It's two classes per day, per week. It's very flexible. And the good thing is we have a cohort going on right now, but our next cohort starts end of this month, I think April 28th. And just to add to that, we're currently running a scholarship program because we know the economic condition in Canada is quite tough right now. So
Mm.
just because I'm a big facilitator of community, we're trying to help the community right now. So we're actually offering about $30,000 worth of scholarship right now
Oh, that's
to
huge.
I think about 20 students or so. So it's out there on our website. You can check our IG page. It's skilldev.ca, right? You can check our website. It's skilldev.ca. And I would say sign up, right? If you get called or get selected and you come on board, because we're offering scholarship to just help people along the way because when it's tough, right? And like you said
Yeah.
earlier, you rightly said, even the OGs are struggling. So sometimes, even me, sometimes like the economy pinches me. I'm like, all right.
This is
So
you
that's
without
what we
kids.
offer. Without kids. Imagine now you have kids.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you for your generosity. Like the scholarship is a big deal, and I can really imagine how that is going to help someone. Because you know what you
Mm,
guys are doing? I don't know if you guys have thought about it. Helping people to even get a job is a big deal,
yeah.
and that should come at a cost.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely.
what you guys are saying is there's even a scholarship now that you can tap into, get the skills that you need, and set yourself up for success.
Hmm.
I think that's remarkable. On
Oh,
behalf
definitely,
of
definitely. Yeah.
on behalf of your prospective winners, I'm saying thank you. So if you are listening to me right now and you would like to transition into projects management or business analysis, Kelly is your guy. Check skilldev.ca. You can check them out on Instagram. You can't go wrong upskilling yourself. You can't go wrong empowering yourself in this fast-paced world.
Hmm.
And you will be shocked at how much people make. I didn't say this. I started this podcast by having a conversation with a lady who said it's not possible for an immigrant to be making six figures. And I was like, who?
What?
What? Because as at that time, I knew so many. In fact, there were very few people around me that were not making six figures. Like, oh, I think we need to change this narrative and people need to hear
Yeah,
some success stories. So
absolutely.
it's been an amazing conversation with you, Kelly. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for your passion. I could see your passion in building community and giving out value to people.
Mhm.
My last question would be, what is the most powerful piece of advice you've ever received that you want to share with someone listening to you right now?
Um, I've received a lot of advice in my life that some of them almost ended me, but then some of them took me to the next level and still carried me to today. And one of
Mm.
them is one I was just sharing with a friend of mine that we went to boarding school together. She's based in the US now. Um, and I asked her that. we're talking a couple of days ago, and I said, "Oh, do you used to remember this?" And you're like, "Oh, Kelly, it's the same thing that drives me to this day." And it came from when we're in high school, in boarding school. There's this pastor that used to come to run like Sunday service for us, and he said this. He said, "Prepare, always prepare for an opportunity, or prepare for an opportunity." So no, how did he say? It's better to be prepared for an opportunity that would never come than to meet with one you were never prepared for.
Hmm.
And all it entails is this. If you break it down further, it means every opportunity of a lifetime must be seized within a lifetime of the opportunity.
Hmm.
It just tells you that in life, whether it's knowledge, whether it's value, as long as you continue that process and you step out of your comfort zone, you will always grow. The fact is, things may not always happen to you right away, but just because you're consistent, you're persistent, you keep going, that opportunity will come. And I've been in places where I'll give you a good example. I'm a licensed engineer in Canada, but I don't work as an engineer anymore, but I still have
Right.
my license. And when we were in school, the moment I graduated, I told myself, go and write this exam immediately. And I went to go write the exam. I got my paper, and then I had to work 4 years before I could apply for the license. And I applied, I got it. A lot of people are like, why are you wasting time? It's just a piece of paper. And it's true. For me, when I get certificates and stuff, let me just tell you who I am. Once I get the certificate today, tomorrow I've forgotten about it.
You move on.
When my parents moved to Canada, my dad saw uh my PNG license, my engineering license, tucked in one corner. It's like, oh, why is it tucked here? I'm like, Dad, it's just a piece of paper, right? So, but when I got that license and then I was getting jobs and I could sit in a room talking with HR guy and like, okay, oh, we see you got your PNG. Okay, that's plus 20 grand. Oh, you got your PMP, that's plus 15 grand. I'm like, I didn't take it with the intention that, oh, this will make me more. I just took it
Hmm.
because I wanted to take it. And I've been in places where like you can't take this job because
You
you
don't
don't
have
have
the.
PNG. But I took it 6 years ago, and now see how it's helping me out. And this is
Hmm.
what I tell people: when you network with people today, it's not for today. You network with them for tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
for next year, for 6 months later, right? So it's always prepare. Try things, break stuff along the way. It's fine, right? But just keep trying things. Go out, try an event, try something, try a new skill. Because what would happen is you will meet with an opportunity and you see that
Hmm.
like, ah,
Wow.
I almost did not go to this event that day, but God, thank you that I went. Or I
Hmm.
almost did not do this that day. Or I was supposed to spend $500 on that new bag. I used it to go and do certification. Thank God I did it that, 2 years ago. So always prepare, right? Because the fact is, life is a journey. And I always tell people, forget about the destination you're going, right? The destination is you're in the grave, end of story. You don't go ever,
Yeah.
right? It's a journey. So you keep going. So for me, I enjoy the journey. And I know there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures, but always prepare. Try things because when the opportunity comes, you'll be glad you prepared for it, as opposed to not being prepared for it.
You are spot on. And when you were sharing this story, one of the things I did in the past just popped up in my head. I did my MBA before moving to Canada. When I applied for that MBA, I was only looking for career growth.
Mm,
That was in Nigeria. Then I was living in Lagos. The MBA was in Ife. It
mm,
was it was a drive, and it was only happening every Saturday. So we would go to Ife and we would return.
mm,
Sometimes, I think there were times we returned in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. So we were three that started that program, like close pals, but two of us didn't make it.
oh,
Now it got to a point where I was also frustrated, and I told my mom like, I'm not sure I want to continue this thing. And my friends
yeah.
were like, there's no point. Even people who get MBA, who get master, they don't get work. I mean, make we just end this thing. But my mom said something. She said, you don't stop feeling your stock because there's no sale.
Mm,
So because when sale comes, they will only buy from people who have inventory.
absolutely.
So I will encourage you to continue the program. Just continue. Forget about the system that there's no job. You know what? I wouldn't have made it to Canada without that MBA because you know how
Okay.
express entry works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That master's gave me an edge. when I applied for. Now, looking back, I'm grateful that I prepared for that opportunity, even when the opportunity didn't look like it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your time with us. This has been a very insightful conversation coming from the OG that is not old. I think you should give your parents you should give your parents a shout out on this show for putting you out there at that early age, giving you the opportunity to come to Canada at that early age. Do you want to give them a shout out?
Absolutely no. I always tell them, right? I'm always forever grateful. There were lots of sacrifices. I remember that sometimes when my dad would, like when I call my dad, during Christmas, I'm like, oh, what are you guys? Then I was a student. So what are you guys doing for Christmas? It's like, we're just here soaking our Gary. And I don't know if he said it as a joke, but in hindsight, when I look back, I'm like, maybe they were actually soaking Gary because they
Mm,
spent all their money. And for me, I've always been a big believer of if you're the first to do something, you have a big load on your shoulder. You have to deliver.
absolutely.
Whenever I see students come to Canada, oh, first in your family, and they just screw it up, I'm so pained because I'm like,
Mm,
you've tarnished your whole generation,
yeah.
right? So for me, I did well that my parents said, okay, this guy actually has a good head on his shoulder. Let's bring on another kid. Let's bring on
Mm.
another kid. Eventually, that's how my three siblings left Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because you
So
led well.
I led well. And when I look back, my parents did all of that. None of us took student loan. And
Impressive.
they did this, like I said, my dad worked in oil and gas. He wasn't like a VP or director, just a regular engineer who saved up his money and made some right decisions early. And my
Mm.
mom worked for she worked for NEPA, PHCN. So all of those coupled together, that's what made us. And I think when I had a chance to sponsor them, and again, like I say, sometimes we just said it just now. It's better for you to prepare for an opportunity you never made. So let me give you a quick story. So shout out to mom and dad for sure.
Shout out.
But um, this parent sponsorship thing in Canada. So I've always been prepared for it. I'm like, okay, to show some gratefulness to my
Gratitude.
parents, I would like to bring them, right? And in 2020, the moment I was eligible, I put my name down. I didn't get it, but I was eligible. I put my name down, I didn't get in. And I set a notification. The moment the next one well, I put my name down, right? So 2020 came, they pulled the names, I didn't get in. 2021 came, they pulled my name. From the day they pulled my name to when we submitted all the documents, it was barely a week.
Oh, wow.
People are like, how quick was that? I'm like, because
I
I was
was
preparing.
ready.
See, the only thing that was, I think when my name was pulled today, we should have submitted the next day. The only thing was I was flying to Nigeria, right? So my dad is like, oh, just come so we just sign the document here and submit it. That was it. So see how I was prepared for it. I had a lot more people that were in Canada before me
They were
that wanted to
eligible.
do that same thing. And they were asking me like, oh, when did you enter? I said, guy, I
I
entered
see
2020.
so.
Oh." It's like, oh, I missed it. I'm like, and they haven't opened it since then.
Then
So yeah,
we don't
so again,
we don't know if they
always
will ever
prepare.
open it again.
I think they will. It's just gonna be. It's just like if you look at the US, look at UK, Australia. It's the same cycle.
Right.
There's always a downturn when it comes to immigration with every country, and then there's an upturn again.
Mm.
Eventually, they will open the doors. All right, but typically it's this 5 to 10 year cycle where they will close it, then they open it, close it. So it just means that some people's destinies and journeys will be altered a little bit. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure someone is listening and is grateful for this conversation. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your time, for sharing your experiences, and for inspiring us. And thank you for being a thriving immigrant.
Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. That's the only way to keep me going. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful time. Bye.